Hey guys, welcome to another
Mkeka Monday.
So today we wanted to kind of take a different tone. It's fun to talk about lighthearted things like motorcycles and just, different aspects of Digo life here, but I think something really important that we wanted to talk about today, and that is suffering. So you might notice that Ellie is not here.
Right now, she is in Nairobi. Our team leader's wife got really sick a week ago, so they decided to medevac her to Nairobi. Since Adam was here with the kids, they didn't want to send her by herself.
Yeah, so it's just been a draining week with medical things, and just so much more than just what Heather's going through. We have other teammates who are having health issues, and we've had our own bouts of vomiting and diarrhea and motorcycle accidents.
God.
We were talking yesterday about how oftentimes these things coincide with hot season.
Yeah.
I feel like our spiritual defenses are low anyways because it is 90 degrees plus humidity. You're just exhausted. I really do think there's a correlation between that and spiritual attack, and then the science part of it. The malaria comes out more during this time of the year, certain bugs, and just it's overwhelming during this one season. We're told by our churches to read these books on suffering. We're told by our sending agencies that we need to read these scriptures about suffering. They prepare you for this. That overseas workers, whenever they do talk about suffering, they list all of these hard things, these real things, suffering from families back home, hard things that they're not able to be walking in with people, illnesses or, spiritual attacks.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that narrative, they always end it, or a lot of the times they end it with, but it's worth it because look at all of these things that God is doing. Look at these churches that have been planted. Look at these disciples that I've made, all these people that have been baptized. What if you don't have, what if you can't say that at the end of your narrative?
You go through the suffering and you're like, what was it for? I don't see results from it, so why? I was reading in 1 Thessalonians 3, and I'm just going to read it for you. So we have been greatly encouraged in the midst of our troubles and suffering, because you have remained strong in your faith. It gives us new life to know that you are standing firm in the Lord. How we thank God for you, because of you, we have great joy as we enter God's presence. I can't say that I've seen all of this fruit, and so how I deal with that and how I say it's worth it when I can't say what Paul is saying. I long for it. I long for it for this people that I've been living with for 4 years and that I've come to love, and I long for them to know the love of Jesus.
The Bible never states that there's some correlation between suffering and spiritual fruit. That's never a thing. It's interesting. A dear friend from the States, shout out to Michelle and Ben, our faithful viewers. When we're suffering, we're actually living in one of God's promises, because Jesus says, in this world you will have suffering. By suffering, I can see the goodness and the faithfulness of the Lord, because He's fulfilling what He's promised, what He told us in advance that we would experience. Sometimes suffering is not an equation.
Bugs.
I posted an article earlier this week that just really summed up what I've been wrestling through this week, and I think what a lot of us on the team have been wrestling this week. Why are the unreached people groups in such physically hard places to live? We've seen so many of our teammates and people on other teams struggle being here physically and emotionally, and have to leave the field. We've seen typhoid, we've seen malaria, we've seen personal family struggles, we've seen
emotional health issues,
depression in children of teammates. There seems to be, yet again, another correlation between, geographically where all these unreached peoples are and living conditions. For a 27-year-old Westerner who is from Arkansas, I had never experienced heat like this. We don't have malaria. I don't think Arkansas has had malaria since the Civil War. All these waterborne illnesses. These are in places where the unreached are now.
Environmentally maybe easier. They are now the reached place, and it's because it's the hard place. How unreached people groups are just in environmentally hard places.
So what's the line? Do we continue to suffer, or do we do the self-care thing? And I don't think there's an answer to that. I think we've both wrestled with that. We just wanted to talk through people in the Western side of this, because a lot of the times we have no idea what we're doing. We're just trying to follow Jesus and wrestling with things. And maybe we just see a little bit more of the unseen, like, spiritual warfare aspect of it, like powers of darkness that are raging.
Yeah.
If you have overseas workers in your life, ask them how they're doing, in what ways they're suffering, and in what ways they're going to Jesus about it.
It's great to ask, how's your ministry going? What are you doing? But it's also just as important to say, how are you? How is your heart? Even how's your health?
I think a lot of us develop emotional problems once we're over here, because they're harder places to live in physically. You know, there's even a degree of like hardness. Don't think that, you know, a place like Deagle Land is as hard as the mountains of Afghanistan. We just want to share with you guys just a little bit of the, you know, more serious aspect of life overseas and ministering in a place where Satan is prowling around like a roaring lion. Sometimes we can't over spiritualize it. Sometimes it's just confusing. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
See you later.
Mkeka Monday.